Well, at some point in probably everyone's life in this room, you find a situation where you need to exercise just a little bit of self-control, right? There's some kind of experience that you've had when you can think about maybe yesterday, or maybe last week, or at some point in your life where you had to exercise just a little bit of self-control, and probably everyone here has had the experience where you have failed. Just Friday night, I went out to dinner with some friends, and I ate all the French fries on my plate. What was I doing? What was I thinking? Totally lost my self-control. One of the most common areas where we try to exercise self-control is with food. For me, I try to eat healthy. I try not to even bring that stuff in the house. I don't put it in the cabinets. I won't be tempted. I try and not drive out to Wawa late at night. I try and exercise some self-control. But I do have something once in a while in my house I call satanic temptations. Potato chips. It doesn't matter how bad they are. It doesn't matter what flavor they are. They are such a challenge for me. I'm one of those people who goes into Wawa and sees that little 1.5 ounce bag that says single serving, and I think, who are they kidding? And then I go in the grocery store and I see the family size bag, and I realize I'm a family of one, so it's perfect. I have a hard time saying no to that bag of chips. These cravings that we experience in life, they cause us to make decisions that we know are not healthy for us. And that's not just with food, is it? Now, you might be thinking of some other examples right now in your life. Because the truth is, we crave all sorts of things in this world. And without self-control, some of those things will take us down some very dangerous paths. We crave intimacy sometimes. We crave control and power sometimes. We crave status and popularity. We crave money and material things. The craving is a very strong desire for us. It's a desire that can overpower us. And somehow we trick ourselves in our minds and we begin to believe that if we can just satisfy the craving, then our lives will be fulfilled. But here's the lesson for us this morning. We have to control the cravings in life. In order for us to even begin to think about adding self-control to our recipe that Peter has given us, we have to control the cravings. This entire worship service is based upon a real foundational premise. And that premise is that the only thing that can truly satisfy us, the only thing that can fill us, is a deep and abiding love that comes from being connected with God. This is where a full life is found. This is why sometimes you and I keep asking ourselves, why am I not happy? Why do I not feel satisfied? Why do I not feel fulfilled? Is this all there is to life? Knowing that we're missing something. Without self-control, we're literally a danger to ourselves. And we're a danger to those who are around us. According to the Bible, self-control it's not something that you have to muster up on your own. According to the Bible, the ability to control ourselves, it actually comes from the Holy Spirit of God. God living inside of us. God living inside of you. God living in the temple that he has given you in your body to be with you every day of your life. And through the Holy Spirit living inside of you, God gives us the power to say no. To say no to the things that will harm us and to say yes to the things that are good for us and that will allow us to live a more full and meaningful life. Say yes to the ways that Jesus has already shown us to live. In Galatians in chapter 5, it says this, the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Save the best for last. Self-control is one of the many fruits that are produced when you and I live a life that is connected to God. So actually, if you really think about this, when we follow the life that God has given us, then self-control is a byproduct of that. It's not something that we have to muster up on our own. It happens when we submit our ways of life to Jesus, when we follow Jesus's lead. And that's not about thinking that in following Jesus that somehow we've been denied life's pleasures. Actually, it's the opposite. You know, years ago when I worked at a different church, there was a young gentleman on our staff, and we were hoping to lift him up into a leadership position, you know, kind of train him and bring him along. We saw some great things in his future, but he had a problem. You see, he was chronically late. He was late to everything, or he was on time, but there were some times when he was a complete no-show, and it really, really started to bother the rest of the staff. And he had absolutely no reasons for it and really no apologies, except maybe after the fact. So he and I had one of those heart-to-heart kind of conversations at the table. And he admitted that his only problem was that he couldn't manage his own schedule. So I looked back at him and I said, look, it's impossible for you to lead others if you can't lead yourself. You need to start exercising some self-control. Get a schedule, set your alarm, and begin to honor and value other people. Honor and value their efforts. Honor and value their time and energies. When you and I lack self-control, let's just say in a few areas, it may not seem like a very big deal to us. But when we don't practice self-control all the time, then we become weak, don't we? Those are opportunities to practice to become stronger and stronger. So then when there are more serious situations, we've already exercised the self-control muscle. And we're ready. We're ready. If we don't with the little things, we will become weak. And those things will begin to destroy our own lives. The book of wisdom in our Bible, it's also known as Proverbs. It addresses this very thing. And in Proverbs 25:28, the writer says this: a person without self-control is like a breached city, one with no walls. Now, historically, war, violence, and invasions, that's how nations used to speak to one another. Some would say we still do that today. This is a constant battle that we have. One of the most strategic military maneuvers in these cases is to protect the borders. And we see this practice today. We see it practiced today with everything from invasions to the spread of viruses. The book of wisdom says that a lack of self-control looks like falling into the enemy's hands. It looks like falling into the temptations on your computer or your cell phone. It looks like falling into the temptations of sexual advances from an old friend. It looks like temptations of neglecting your health for short-term satisfaction. It looks like the inability to control your tongue, starting gossip or conflict with every word that you speak. It looks like the temptation of sleeping late, missing gathering together in the worship to give praise to God as we're called to do. It looks like the temptation of spending more money than we actually have just so that we can feel good today. It looks like not budgeting our resources so that we have the ability to bless others when there is a need. The lack of self-control sends a message to God. And that message is that we don't believe him, that we don't believe in him. And then we give in to all of our earthly temptations. So where are you in these areas this morning? Because when you and I neglect the Spirit of God who's working in us and through us, we then leave our borders unprotected. And we're bound to fall into the enemy's hands. So hear this morning. Self-control is protection against temptation. Self-control is what you might call mission critical when it comes to living a full and meaningful life with God. And the Apostle Paul knew this, and he repeats this message when he writes a letter to Christians who are living in Rome. He wrote this in chapter 8, verse 5 and 6. People whose lives are based on selfishness think about selfish things. But people whose lives are based on the Spirit think about things that are related to the Spirit. The attitude that comes from selfishness leads to death. But the attitude that comes from the Spirit leads to life and peace. You know what Paul is saying? Is that it's your choice. You get to make the choice. It's your attitude that you choose that gives you the life that is full and meaningful with God, or that leads to destruction and death. It is an attitude that you choose. And you choose the craving that you're going to feed. Do you feed the desires of the flesh, or do you feed the desires of the Spirit? Because when you and I let down the walls, when you and I open the doors, when you and I let down the drawbridge, when you and I listen to others who don't want what is best for us, our minds will lead us down paths of destruction in our lives. Brothers and sisters, we are sinful creatures. And we need to turn up our hearing aids so that we can hear the voice of the Spirit who resides within us. We need to hear his direction. We need to lean on him for the hope and the help, the goodness and the wisdom that will lead us to have the power to have self-control. Our success when it comes to self-control all depends on which craving you choose. It's your choice. There's a Native American fable that has been passed down through the generations. I'd like to share that with you this morning. A Cherokee grandfather was teaching his grandson about life. And he said to the boy, "A fight is going on inside your mind right now. And it's a terrible fight. It's between two wolves. And the one wolf is evil. It is anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego." And he said, but the other wolf is good. And that wolf is joy, peace, love, hope, patience, humility, kindness, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. This fight is going on inside of you and inside of every other person you know. Well, the grandson, he thought for a moment, and then he said, "Grandfather, I see, but tell me, which wolf is going to win the battle?" And the grandfather smiled, and he replied back, and he said, "Well, son, the one you feed, of course. The one you choose to feed." A mind surrendered to Jesus is a mind that's renewed. And you have the choice right before you to make that choice. It's a choice as to what you're going to feed. You know, I think today too many of us are allowing our minds to be filled with negativity and judgment. Fear. Fear is a big one. Pride. And a lot of us are filling our minds with anxiety. But we can give all of that up, and we can surrender our minds to what Jesus has led us to do. I've seen in my own life, and to be honest, I battle this every day, is that when I feed the Spirit and practice self-control, it actually becomes easier. The more I do it, the easier it gets to feed my life correctly. Think of it this way. It's just like when you start healthy eating. If you start healthy eating and you eat really healthy for a month and then you go out and eat something that's not good for you, your body doesn't feel good. All of a sudden, that thing that you enjoyed and you loved and it was filled with grease and salt and all those great happy things that make us warm inside, it makes you warm inside. Your body begins to reject it. The more and more that you practice self-control and you feed your body what it needs, it becomes easier and easier. And you get rewarded because your body then tells you, oh no, not that. And we learn. And we receive a blessing from that too. If you begin to eat healthier, you begin to feel healthier. You begin to stand up a little taller. You begin to make decisions quicker and better. You begin to feel brighter. You sleep better. Those are the rewards of practicing good self-control. And if you don't, if you binge watch TV all day and eat all the potato chips in the house, maybe once or twice, your thoughts can become negative. You can even begin to feel a little depressed, lethargic, and unhappy. But when you practice self-control, you are rewarded. And it does become easier because it's just how Jesus fed you. And it's just how God created you. There's a reason why self-control is one of the ingredients to experiencing a life with God. It's key to limiting all of those negative effects we were just talking about when it comes to health. But there's so many other areas of our lives that this is actually working in. So it's not a secret ingredient. It's actually pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. And you know what? I think maybe some of us are missing it. And when I tell you about an event that's coming up here at church and I tell you I don't want you to miss it, I always say, I don't want to tell you later I told you so. So I don't want to tell you. I told you so when it's too late. One of the reasons that I think this self-control might be hard is because we're used to being satisfied now. We want satisfaction now. We don't want to work at it. We don't want to look long-term. And we fail to consider that the decisions that you and I make today affect our entire lives. We get fixated on this idea of immediate gratification. Here's something else I want you to remember this morning. There is power in delayed gratification. There was a study that was done by Stanford University back in the 1960s, and this study has been done by numerous groups. It's been repeated several times since then, and the study is called the marshmallow test. I don't know if any of you tried this. It was used to look at the qualities of a person who is going to succeed in life. These are qualities that people need to have or that they find in those who are very successful. So we've got a clip of a marshmallow test, and I want you guys to take a look at it. Let's watch this marshmallow test.
Okay, sit in that chair. All right, here's the deal. Marshmallow for you. You can either wait, and I'll give you another one if you wait, or you can eat it now. When I come back, I'll give you another one, so then you'll have two. But stay in here and stay in the chair till I come back, okay? All right. I'm gonna go do something and then I'll come back.
It smells yummy. It smells really good.
it's up to you. You can have it now or you can wait. Okay? I'll be back. Stay in the chair, okay? Okay. All right, so I'm gonna leave and then I'll come back, okay? So you can either eat it right now or you can wait. Either way, okay? Okay. How'd you do? Did you do good? You did?
Yeah.
You wanted to eat it, didn't you? Yeah. So did I tell you to give you another one? Okay, now you can have both. You need them.
Those are funny, adorable faces, aren't they? I have a question. Did any of you have difficulty waiting until the end of the video to see the end? That's called delayed gratification, people. There's only a couple minutes. You just need to exercise a little self-control to wait to get to see the end. But you know, self-control is not just about food. When it comes to the power and the benefits of self-control, that same practice can be spilled into all sorts of areas of your life. And you're going to begin to see those positive results and feel those rewards. Practicing self-control to discipline yourself for prayer, for Bible reading, for studying. Not saying, I had no time today. Investing in your family and in your marriage. Exercise and healthy eating. Choosing positive thoughts and choosing positive language are all areas where we can practice a little self-control. Learning to submit to the power that God has just sitting right inside of you. It's a necessary ingredient to living a life. I think it's a life that we all desire as well. So brothers and sisters, don't delay. Begin today. Begin practicing self-control. Amen.